Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 78 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Skinny Gibson.
What's going on, man?
Not much, except for the fact that you are wasting away to nothing, man.
Wasted away like in Margaritaville?
No, you've just lost a lot of weight.
I did, man.
Working out?
Working out. That feels good.
It might feel good to you. You're really making me feel bad about myself.
You still make fun of my jeans every time.
Yeah, because your jeans are 4 sizes too big now. That's the problem.
Now I got to go back and get another size down.
You got them cinched up with a rope. I think that should be telling you something.
I should get like Mork and Mindy suspenders.
That would make it even... Then it would look like a clown outfit. You know how it's like real big?
Yeah, just kind of be floating in there.
The key is to buy...
The correct size?
The correct size.
Yeah.
The problem is you've lost weight so fast.
Yeah.
You can't buy jeans every 3 days, I guess.
No. I bought new jeans right before Crime Con, and now it's time to buy new ones.
It was time many moons ago, brother.
Many moons ago, huh? Well, you know.
All right, so we're back. We took last week off. Now it's messed up my numbering system, Gibbs. We were always 10 different, right? 10 episodes different from True Crime All Time Unsolved to True Crime All Time. Now we're 11.
Now you got to start numbering sequence.
We're going to have to remedy that somehow. But let's start off talking about our new Patreon supporters.
Okay.
Let's give some shout outs to Adrian Hewson.
Adrian.
Barrett Kristen Nilsson.
Oh, that's a dual name there.
Actually, I think it's 3.
No. Well, I mean, technically, okay.
Technically, there was 3 different names.
Technical on me.
Well, you said dual. That means 2. Ashley Bridges.
Like London Bridge is falling down?
If you want to.
Yeah.
Or Bridges of Madison. Ashley Bridges of Madison County.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Brian McElroy.
Oh, like that's a tennis player, man.
That's McEnroe.
That's close.
Very close.
McEnroe.
Very close.
Very close.
Okay.
Just one letter off.
No, about 3, but
okay.
Spencer Pascal.
What's up, Spence?
Mark Anthony.
So we know we got the singer.
Yep.
Well, J-Lo's next.
J-Lo's the next one.
She's coming.
Renee Crawford. Todd Plouffe. Go ahead and make your sound.
Poof.
Donna Joplin jumped out at her highest level.
Yeah.
Aaron White.
Hey, Aaron, thank you.
Chelsea Moss. Brendan Wilhide.
Yeah, it's hiding somewhere. Find him.
Sarah Jones.
Hey, Sarah.
Ella.
Just Ella.
Just Ella.
Hey, Ella.
Brittany Waynick. Rebecca Resnick.
Hey, Rebecca.
Lisa.
Just Lisa?
Mm-hmm.
L-I-S-A?
Not...
Or L-E-S-A?
Not Lisa in the Cult Jam? Is that what it was called?
Oh, is that back in the Prince days?
Yeah. I don't know who that was.
You knew. You probably have all the albums on your wall.
No, it sounds familiar. I'm not sure I said it exactly right. But
yeah.
Amanda Tedrick. A lot of names that are ending in I-C-K.
Yeah.
Kind of here in a row. Michelle Sharmack.
Hey, Michelle.
Becky Tate.
Yeah.
Kelly Slatton. Jody Peterson. Jimmy Chambers.
Hey, Jimmy.
Tarnia and Ange.
Now,
I think that's a duel right there.
That's definitely a duel.
Michael Millhouse.
Hey, Mike.
Nick Maitland.
Yep.
Astra Berry. Astra, that is a cool name.
Astra.
Kyle Monopoly.
Well, that's the name of the night right there.
Monopoly. Not spelled the same. Actually spelled
because you know when you put a reservation in, they go, table for Mr. Monopoly. Mr. Monopoly, table for 2.
Maybe they say the Monopoly guy.
Oh, yeah.
Table for the Monopoly guy.
Yeah, what's that thing he has in his eye?
Monocle?
Monocle.
There you go.
I wonder if he wears a monocle out just because of that fact.
Have you ever seen somebody wear a monocle?
But would you wear one if your name was Monopoly?
Not just to play a joke at a restaurant. No, probably not.
I think I would.
I don't think
because people are like, oh my gosh, it's got to be the guy that invented Monopoly because he's got the monocle.
I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on that one.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I'd probably do it.
Plus, everybody knows that Monopoly's been around a very long time.
Not everybody's that smart. You can pull it off on somebody.
I had Barbara Forbes Rooney.
That's a power name, man.
Lobita Works is back with us.
Hey, Lobita.
And Kimber Monks jumped out to our highest level.
Thank you, Kimber.
And if we go back into the vault, Gibbs, this week we selected Warner Hobart.
Hey, Warner.
Longtime supporter, much appreciated.
Yes.
And we appreciate all the new support, the people that stay with us. Appreciate our PayPal support. We have a lot of people that support us on PayPal on a regular basis.
And that's awesome.
Some people one time, some people multiple times. It's great. We had Jessica Metz.
Thanks.
James Rose,
Thank you.
and Dusty Lawhorn.
That's awesome.
All right, Gibb. So at the time that this episode is out, we also have a True Crime All the Time episode.
We do.
We're talking about Chevy Kehoe.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. The guy's a white supremacist, had some very strange ideas in his head. Weren't strange to him, but because of the way he grew up, very strange to you and I.
But we all remember the videotape.
Right? And that happened, as you like to say, just down the road from us.
It did, yeah.
Not very far.
No, pretty close, actually.
So, yeah, check that one out. It's good. But let's get into this unsolved case, man.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, this one came from one of our Patreon members. Kristen Smith sent it over to me and said, you guys need to do this. And we're doing it. So thank you.
All right, so we're talking about the unsolved murders at the Hinterkaifeck farm.
Hinterkaifeck.
I hope I'm saying that right, Gibbs. But we're heading to Germany.
Yeah, we are going to Germany.
So there's a very good chance that we're going to mess up some names.
More you than me.
More me than you, because I do most of the talking, but
I'm sort of fluent in German.
You are, sort of.
Yeah, just kind of be angry when you say the words.
That's your whole theory on German, isn't it?
Nein.
Just be very angry.
Yes.
But this is, one of the most gruesome unsolved murders in Germany.
It is.
And it took place in the Alpine farms of Bavaria. And we're talking about a mountainside town. But it all takes place at the Hinterkaifeck farmstead. And we're going back to 1922. So it's a pretty old case. It's gruesome. It's mysterious. It's one of Germany's, older unsolved murders.
It is. But it's a good one.
Now, the farm was located about an hour from Munich. The farmstead was occupied by the Gruber family, and the family consisted of husband, Andreas, was 63 years old. His wife, Kazelia, was 72 years old. They had a 35-year-old widowed daughter, Victoria, and 2 grandchildren, Kazelia, 7, and Joseph, 2. We're talking 1922 here. It's very rural. There's no neighbors. Right?
Yeah. Nobody right next door like a subdivision.
No.
You got some distance in between.
No, I mean, they're nestled back in a forest about a mile from, the main town. Now, even though the farm and the family were fairly isolated from the community, the family was well off and they were well known in the area.
But, sometimes you're known for good things, but sometimes you're known for bad things. And the father was known more for bad things.
Well, we said they were well known. We didn't say they were well liked.
Yeah.
And there is a big difference.
There's a huge difference.
But you're right. The father was known to be rude, very unfriendly. It was well known around the area that he regularly beat his wife. So he was not well liked. Not to mention the fact that there was a rumor going around town that his 2-year-old grandson, Joseph, was actually his son from an improper relationship he had with his daughter, Victoria.
That's a pretty strong rumor.
That's nasty rumor.
Yeah.
So it was also thought around town that, not only did he have a child with his daughter, but he was actually in love with her.
The wrong kind of love. You love your daughter, but you don't
love
your daughter.
Well, I said he was in love.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make that distinction between...
That's true.
He loved her. He was in love.
Yeah.
Romantically, sexually, however you want to say it. This was, one of the other rumors going around. But apparently he controlled her every move, made it well known around town that she was never going to remarry. Remember, she was widowed.
Right.
And we talked about the fact that it was known that he abused his wife. There were reports that he abused, the other members of the family as well. But one day, Gibbs, things started to get a little strange at the farmstead. They had a maid named Maria who all of a sudden one day just up and left. And the reasons that she gave for this was that she had been hearing strange, bizarre voices and other types of noises in and around the house.
So like kind of haunted.
Sounds haunted to
Yeah.
me. She also said that she was hearing footsteps that sounded like they were coming from the attic.
That would be a little freaky.
That would be freaky. The only thing more freaky is if you hear a voice that says, get out, then you get out.
You would.
You should obey that
Yeah.
and get out.
You don't say,
Don't tell me what to do.
Don't you tell me, ghost. I'm staying.
No, I'm out. I don't mess around with ghosts, strange things.
You ever stay anywhere haunted?
No.
Would you?
Yeah, because I don't want to say I don't believe in that. What I'll say is I've never experienced anything that's made me believe.
Yeah.
But if I did, I'd be the first one out the door. I'd push you down. I'd step over you.
You go with your grandma.
I'd do
whoever.
a Scooby-Doo and run right through a door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sticking around. I've just never experienced anything like that.
I think we kind of talked about when we did the episode on the
Amityville?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did a little
would we
bit.
stay in the house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'll reiterate. For $1 million, there's not a lot of things,
You wouldn't do?
as long as they're legal, that I
Yeah.
wouldn't do.
Okay.
I'd go streaking to KFC.
Yeah, we
I'd do
don't
a lot
need
of
that.
things.
Nobody needs to see that.
No,
There's just
but for $1 million, I'd do it.
yeah.
Or for a bottle of Patron.
I think you need the Patron to get
Right.
started.
But let's get back to the family and Maria. They told people that she was mentally disturbed and corrected anybody that was say that there was anything wrong at the farmstead.
Well, I mean, you can see why they would do that. You know, they don't want to.
You don't want people thinking your house is haunted.
Right.
But it's 6 months later when things would get even more bizarre. So we're in March of 1922. Andreas is walking around the property after a snowstorm, and he discovered odd footprints in the snow. And the footprints originated from the surrounding forest, and they led right up to the house.
It's almost like a M. Night. I'm going to try to say his name, but I can't. Movie.
Well, you can try to say it.
Yeah, I forget.
No, you're going to let everybody down if you don't at least try it.
M. Night Shyamalan.
I think it's M. Night Shyamalan.
Or that.
But that was close.
Yeah. So it sounds like one of his, like is it The Village?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, he's made some good movies. Obviously, Sixth Sense is great and things like that. He's made some
Yeah.
real stinkers, too.
Yeah, that's what I heard, yeah. Rumor has it.
Rumor has it. But when you see that in your subdivision, you probably don't give that much of a thought, right? You might see footprints all around the house, kids running around.
Right.
But in 1922, in this area that they're in, that would be something strange.
That would be.
He's outside. He
Like
probably knows there's nobody out there.
Who's walking my property?
Right. He's wondering what's going on.
And to that, I mean, that's why. So he searches around. He's trying to figure out, is there somebody here? Is there somebody hiding around the house? Is there somebody hiding in the barn? And he just keeps searching. He wants to, like, figure out who's on my property.
We mentioned there's footprints leading to the house. There are no footprints leading back. So logically, you would say somebody has come to the house. Where are they?
Exactly. But he looks everywhere. I mean, even the tool shed and all that, and he can't find anybody.
Now, later that night, Andreas woke up because he heard some strange noises in the attic. And he goes back to what the maid had told him about ghosts and noises in the attic. So he goes up there to check it out, doesn't find anyone hiding there. So in the end, Gibbs, he's basically checked the entire property. We talked about the fact that there's no footprints leading back into the woods. He doesn't know what to think. It's like somebody came and just vanished.
And I guess, at that point, I mean, you just have to be okay with that. I mean, it's a little strange, but I think you'd probably still be a little anxious. The anxiety level might be up a little bit because you're like, I know what I saw. I can't confirm anything now, but something's going on. I just don't know what it is. But you got to move on, right? Life just can't stop. Got to keep on moving. He's got a big old farm. He's got animals he's got to take care of, people to take care of.
There you go with your business posters again.
That's right.
Life doesn't stop. You just got to keep on moving.
Keep moving. Work will always pull you through.
That's how Gibby lives his life.
I do.
As one motivational work poster at a time.
Right. Work will always pull you through anything. Just keep working.
But you're right. I mean, he's anxious. But he goes to bed, and he wakes up the next morning to find a strange newspaper on his porch. And this was strange because they didn't know where the newspaper had come from.
That'd be like you getting a Wall Street Journal here.
Yeah, that would be very odd. I would wonder what the heck is going on.
What's going on here? You're used to like all these, glamour magazines coming to your house, for the girls and things like that, and your sports stuff but
my sports stuff.
Your sports stuff.
Boy, you sound so manly right now.
Your sports stuff, man.
Your sports stuff.
Your Sports Illustrated, non-swimsuit edition.
But it's not long after that, March 30th, 1922, a set of keys to the house all of a sudden disappeared, and no one in the family could find them anywhere.
That happens at a lot of people's houses. That you have your keys laying out, and you can't find them, and everybody's running around looking for them. No, this is not 1922 I'm talking about. I'm just talking about just the other day, Where's those keys at? I
lose keys all the time.
Right. But this is probably a little different, when you have a farmstead, a homestead, where you got a set of keys that go to the tool shed or to the barn or to the house, whatever you got locked up to protect. I don't think you have multiple sets, so it's probably a big deal when one of those keys goes missing.
I would say so.
And there's only a handful of people that could have done something with it. And if they all say, what, me? You've been in that, with just probably your kids like I have.
I'm in that every day.
Yeah. Wasn't me, Dad. Wasn't me. Well, it was you two and me in this house. So I didn't do it. If you guys didn't do it, are you telling me the dog did it?
What about your wife? Is she not there?
Let's talk about your house.
What about my wife?
Well, she's at the lake.
So he goes looking for these keys. And in the search, he goes to the tool shed and he notices some scratches on the lock, almost as if someone had tried to pick it. So we got some weird things going on at this house.
Yeah, I think so. Noises, footsteps.
Missing keys.
Someone trying to pick a lock.
There's no huge jump out at you type of things, just a bunch of little things that are very strange.
Bizarre.
To them.
Yeah.
And it's just the very next day, March 31st, that the Grubers hire another maid. And it just so happens that this woman's name was also Maria. Her name was Maria Baumgartner. And that day would be Maria's first day on the job, but it would also be her last, her only day on the job. Not only that, this would be the last day that anyone would see the Grubers alive. But it's some days later, April 4th, that people in town start to get concerned about the Grubers. No one had seen, any members of the family in days. The oldest grandchild had not been showing up for school. None of the family had attended church, and their mail had been piling up at the post office.
So, it's going to set off some alarms for sure.
Well, Victoria in particular, she never missed church. She was in the choir. She was a high-standing member of the choir. She would never miss it.
Did you ever sing in the choir?
I did in school.
No church choir?
No.
You have a good voice. So I just,
I sang in the choir at school. I sang in plays and things like that.
Okay. I just didn't know if you ever kicked it out, a little bit at church.
No freestyling at church. But because of all these things, a few of the townspeople decide to head out to the property and check on the Grubers, make sure they're okay. When they got to the farm, they knocked. Nobody answered. They looked around outside the farm, no signs of the family. It was said, Gibbs, that everything was kind of eerily silent, quiet. There was nothing going on out there. So at that point, they decided to check inside the barn. And when they opened the door, they were met with a gruesome sight.
It was pretty bad, man. So when they open the door, they see a big pool of blood. And laying in that blood is Andreas, his wife, and then his daughter, Victoria, and the oldest granddaughter. And they've all been murdered.
But that's not it, Gibbs, because the bodies of each of these victims have been stacked neatly on top of each other and then covered with hay.
Kind of bizarre.
Very bizarre. So you have to figure, Gibbs, I mean, these people are shocked. Imagine the scene.
I just couldn't. I couldn't imagine seeing something like that, especially with the granddaughter. You know, I mean, all of it would be traumatic, but to see a little kid that's been murdered, that would be rough.
It would be to see 4 people dead, but then stacked on top of each other in such a strange way.
Yeah, we've seen that before in other cases we covered. You know, I think it was maybe the Oklahoma Girl Scout episode that we did when the girls were killed and the suspect took the bodies and stacked them took the time to stack the bodies. I just find it bizarre, you know. Do they feel bad? Do they feel like they need to do that?
Well, add on top of that the fact, I mean, it's described that they were stacked neatly, right? This wasn't a haphazard last-minute thing. Somebody took their time to do this in a organized, neat fashion.
So when they say neat, you know, because there's no crime scene photos from back then.
Right, it's all description.
So I'm picturing biggest person on the bottom and work your way up to the, you know.
Well, that plus I'm just picturing like a lined up, I guess is the way I would think of it.
Yeah, I think I see it the same
Not
way.
like askew, like pretty lined up.
Yeah, not sloppy at all.
Yeah, not sloppy.
Yeah.
But these people are shocked, and they start looking for other members of the family because they only found 4 people, and they know who's in this family. So they start looking, and they find them in the farmhouse. The youngest grandchild, Joseph, was found dead in his bed, which was actually in his mother's bedroom, in Victoria's bedroom. And remember, I mean, he's only 2 years old.
Yeah, just a little guy, man.
A little guy. And then they find Maria, the brand new maid that had just started, you know, 4 or 5 days before that.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. Worst first work day ever.
It can't get any worse than that.
No.
Never.
No.
She's found dead in her bed in the maid's chamber room. And again, there is a tremendous amount of blood in both of these rooms. I mean, all of these people, you would think, Gibbs, they bled out. So when everything's said and done, it's a total of 6 people. You have all 5 of the Gruber family members, plus the maid Maria. They've been brutally killed in cold blood. So the townspeople quickly got the police involved. And within a few hours, investigators from the Munich Police Department were at the scene. Preliminary autopsies on the body showed that all of the victims had been killed from blows to the head, inflicted by a pickaxe. That is a horrible way to die. Not that there's too many good ways to be murdered, but a pickaxe to the head sounds brutal.
Not good.
Not good.
That would hurt.
But there were other signs on some of the bodies, other than just the blows from the pickaxe. Victoria's body also showed signs that she was strangulated, but this was not her cause of death. Now, police thought that whoever did this was very familiar with using a pickaxe, because when they looked at all of these wounds, they were very precise. Each of the bodies had a single decisive blow to the head, and besides the strangulation marks on Victoria, there were no other wounds to the bodies. All of the victims, except for one, were believed to have died instantly. And the only one that they didn't think died instantly was the little granddaughter, Kazilia, because they found evidence that showed that she survived several hours after receiving the blow to the head. And the other very strange thing, Gibbs, was that some of her hair had been torn from her head, ripped out for whatever reason.
You'd have to be in a lot of pain or something to pull your own hair out, really, chunks of hair out.
Oh, I never even thought about a victim taking a blow to the head and pulling their own hair out. It's possible.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. I was thinking more from a killer standpoint. Why in the world, after you've hit somebody in the head with a pickaxe, would you tear some of their hair out?
I guess, unless you're dragging them, maybe as you're pulling them.
Or unless you're keeping a souvenir, and that's your souvenir. Now, one important fact was that most of the family and the victims were dressed in their pajamas. The only two that were not were Victoria, the daughter, and her daughter, the granddaughter, Kazelia. They were still dressed in, regular everyday clothes. So police pretty easily theorized that because most of the victims had their pajamas on and Maria and Joseph had been killed in bed, these murders happened either around bedtime or after, some of these people were asleep.
How much is an hour of your time worth? Whether you're a realtor, lawyer, accountant, or even a content creator, Stamps.com gives you the ability to focus your time on what you do best, not on tedious mailing and shipping tasks. Print stamps, shipping labels, or certified mail forms in seconds. More than 4 million customers have relied on Stamps.com to make their lives easier. Go to Stamps.com/audio for a special offer. No contract, cancel anytime. That's Stamps.com/audio.
An investigation of the crime scene led police to the conclusion that someone had lured Andreas Gruber, his wife, his daughter Victoria, and his granddaughter into the barn and attacked them with a pickaxe. Then the murderer entered the farmhouse to murder young Joseph and the maid as they lay in their beds. Now, what they also thought was that Victoria and her daughter had most likely gone out to the barn first because they were the only two that were still dressed. So something had drawn them out to the barn. But one detail that police noticed was that all of the bodies had been covered with something. We mentioned already the stacked bodies in the barn were covered with hay. The maid's body had been covered with bed sheets, and Joseph's body had been covered with one of his mother's skirts. So I think, Gibbs, that's an important fact. You and I have talked about this before. What's the meaning of that when you take the time to cover a victim who you've just murdered?
Right.
There's meaning to that. You're not trying to hide them. In most cases, when we analyze it, we think it's because this is somebody that knows the victims and either feels bad about what they've done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of times what it is.
Or something along those lines. Yeah. The investigators would ultimately determine that the deaths occurred March 31st, which was a Friday. But neighbors told the police that they saw smoke coming from the chimney over that entire weekend, which suggests that the killer remained on the farm inside the home for that entire time. Maybe, had a fire going. The other thing that investigators noticed was that, there were signs that someone had recently eaten meals. We can't forget, it's April 4th when they find the body. They were killed on March 31st. There should not be signs that somebody had just recently eaten. That is a number of days between when the murders occurred and when the bodies were found. Add on top of that, investigators noticed that one of the beds appeared to have been slept in very recently. And I'm assuming, Gibbs, that they judged that by an indentation, or I'm not exactly sure what a 1922 bed was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a Casper or Sleep Number. We know that.
No, not at all.
But the strange things, they don't end there. They found that all of the cattle, all of the livestock had been fed recently. And that's very bizarre as well. Because if you think about it, everybody that should have been caring for these animals has been dead for 4 or 5 days. So who has fed these animals and why?
Somebody's keeping them up. Why are they doing it?
Right.
Yeah, that's bizarre, man.
None of the animals on the farm had been harmed in any way. There was a dog. tied up in the barn, presumably by the murderer, but found healthy, fed, given water. The dog was not sitting there for 4 or 5 days without anything to eat or drink. So I think just like we're showing some surprise, Gibbs, the police were shocked by this. Again, they're thinking, why would somebody commit these gruesome murders, then stick around at the crime scene, but not only that, eat, take care of the animals. So not only do they have 6 victims, 6 dead bodies, they have all of these strange things that they found that happened between the time that the murders occurred and the time that the bodies were found. So police are trying to figure out, who would have a motive to do this, to commit the murders, then stick around, take care of the place for a while. What was the reasoning behind all of this? I think initially they thought this was probably a robbery gone bad, but then they discovered inside the home a large amount of cash, undisturbed. Nobody had taken it. They also found pretty significant amount of gold coins, valuable jewelry. So I think that pretty much ruled out robbery right there. And then they discovered another mysterious fact. And it was that Victoria had emptied her bank account a few weeks prior to the murders, and she left a sizable donation to her church. But there was still a good amount of money, the rest of the money that was taken out of her bank account, that was unaccounted for. So police are processing all this information, and they're starting to try to identify suspects. And the first person that they thought about was a man named Lawrence Schlittenbauer, who had been a love interest of Victoria's. Victoria had claimed that Joseph, her 2-year-old, had been Schlittenbauer's son, but we talked about it, right? Everybody in town believed this rumor that Joseph was actually the son of Andreas that resulted from some type of incestuous affair between Andreas and Victoria. So this may have even added to police suspicion of Schlittenbauer, right? Could he have done this in some type of jealous rage? Because maybe Gibbs, he was upset that the rumors that had been going around were actually true, when all of this time Victoria had been telling him that Joseph was his son. Now, I think the flip side of this is that the motive could have been him trying to avoid alimony payments, because it later came out that Victoria had been on the verge of suing him for alimony just weeks before the murders. There's a couple of motives there for Schlittenbauer, possibly.
You like saying that name, don't you?
I do. It does sound, it kind of sounds like it could be a beer.
Yeah.
Why don't you throw me one of those Schlittenbauers?
Give me a Schlittenbauer. Just be careful you get that L in there.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. It could go the wrong way. I don't think anybody wants to drink a Schittenbauer.
No, they're not good.
No. Give me a Schittenbauer.
I'm not crazy about them.
I don't think so.
I got to be honest.
Bad marketing.
But there were other strange facts that seemed like they pointed to this guy. One was the fact that he was a member of one of the original search parties who had gone to the farm on April 4th to look for the Grubers. I don't know how strange that is, but as we know, sometimes murderers like to insert themselves into the search, the investigation. I'm assuming that held true in 1922 as well. But the other piece of this puzzle is that it was reported that the dog that was tied up in the barn that we talked about really disliked this guy, Schlittenbauer, would not stop barking at him.
And dogs are good sense. I mean, they sense that stuff. I mean,
they do.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably, you got 2 dogs. I'm sure when you have somebody they don't like, Yeah,
they bark at you from the time that you come in the door until the time that you shut the door to come down the studio. And then when we're done, they bark at you from the top of the stairs all the way till you leave the house. They're a really good judge of character.
Look, that's just how you train them, man.
It is.
Those fancy doggy treats.
Yeah, I mean, over a couple of years, I have given them treats every time they bark at you, and it's just
Now they know.
perpetuated it
They know.
into this full-out bark fest.
Yeah.
And then when you leave, they just get a massive amount of treats.
And they know.
And they know.
It's reward. Reward to do this to me. Wait a minute. Is that why your kids get ice cream every time I come over?
Exactly.
And that's why they treat me the way they do?
Kick you in the shins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now it makes sense.
But back to this dog, Gibbs wouldn't stop barking at this guy. On top of that, a witness said that Schlittenbauer seemed to be extremely calm when they found the bodies. And I guess he was the guy that unstacked the bodies, and it didn't seem to bother him in the slightest. So a couple of things there. Well, you mentioned it. You open the door and you see that sight, that's going to be rough.
Terrible sight to see, man.
And to unstack, it's kind of a strange word to use, but to unstack 4 dead bodies that have been sitting around for 4 or 5 days and act like it's nothing, I don't know. There's something to that, if you ask me. That's not an easy job to do at all. Again, this is what a witness said. And I guess he did this. He unstacked the 4 bodies on his own before police showed up. And when they did show up, they asked him, why did you, disturb the corpses? And his answer was that he needed to find his boy. He was looking for his boy, Joseph, who he thought was his boy. He was also very familiar with the farm. He was able to navigate his way around the property as if he had spent a lot of time there. But he was questioned extensively by police. But in the end, they just didn't have enough solid evidence to link him to the crime. He was never arrested. But in fact, to this day, no one has ever been arrested. Right? It's one thing to say it's not solved, right? We know it's unsolved. No one's ever been arrested for these crimes. The bodies of the 6 victims were eventually buried in a graveyard in Wadehofen. But Gibbs, they were buried without their heads.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that when they did the autopsy, they took the heads, sent them off to some type of laboratory at a university in Munich. And then during the war with the bombings, the heads were never recovered. So the heads were never returned to.
So to this day, I mean, there's still 6 headless bodies.
Yeah.
Buried with a memorial. This investigation of the murders would ultimately go on for years. Right? This happened in 1922. They would question over 100 suspects. But again, not a single person was ever arrested. The farm was demolished a year after the attacks in 1923. And now today, close to where the farm was located, there's a shrine. Now, there is a theory that has been floated that involves Victoria's ex-husband, Carl Gabriel, carrying out the murders. But Gabriel had supposedly been killed in the trenches of World War I, but his body had never actually been found, and he never received a proper burial. So it has been speculated that he didn't die in the war, and that he came back for his wife. And that upon returning home, he heard about the vicious rumors going around town about this incestuous relationship that Victoria allegedly had with her father, and maybe about her involvement with Schlittenbauer, that he snapped. He snapped and he murdered all of these people in a crime of passion. This theory was fueled by reports of a couple of people who came forward claiming to have met what they thought was a Russian soldier after World War II who claimed to be the Hinterkaifeck killer. It's been speculated that this guy faked his death to be free of his wife, but that at some point later he changed his mind, only to come home to be very upset with what he found when he got there. But we started this case, Gibbs, kind of talking about some paranormal type of elements. we talked about the strange things that the original maid on the farm says that she heard, the noises that Andreas heard, the newspaper, the footprints, the keys.
Yeah, the scratches on the lot. I mean, there's some bizarre stuff, but part of me wonders if it was the husband, Gabriel, that what they said, he wanted out, he faked his death, but then he wanted back, then he came back, and was he sneaking in the house and living up in the attic? And that's maybe the noises they heard. And maybe he witnessed something with his wife and father-in-law that threw him into a rage, and one day he just took care of everything and stayed behind for a few days, and that's why he covered up the bodies, because he had a personal interest. Maybe it was something like that. Maybe that's what it was. I mean, if he was in the army, maybe he knew how to move around without being seen, like some would. I don't know.
Better than most.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a theory,
And my assumption is it was much, much harder to track people back then, right? Who actually died in the war.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
versus somebody that kind of snuck home or
right.
something like that. There's a lot to that one. To me, the Schlittenbauer story makes a little more sense, or is a little bit easier to see happening. But again, we'll never know.
No, maybe, if he knew the area well enough, maybe he was good enough that maybe he would sneak in and get up in the attic and kind of watch the activities in the house to, have an ear on what was going on. And
yeah, I mean, it said that he seemed to know his way around, but that's possible, right? I don't know how many times he had been there. It wasn't like he was a stranger. He was quasi dating Victoria, or they had been an item, or there was something going on. My assumption is he had probably been to the house. I don't know how many times. So it's possible that he, maybe he was a little strange and decided that he wanted to sleep in the attic, or who knows?
Yeah.
But it's a
mystery, man.
It is. It's an unbelievable mystery from all the different elements. The strange, almost paranormal things, to the way that the murders happened, to the way that the bodies were found.
I bet the first Maria was glad she left that job, the maid, the first Maria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad she was like, I'm out of here. And then she's probably like, yeah, this is why I got out.
I mean, you go back to Maria Baumgartner. It's horrible that they all died. No doubt about that. Yeah. But how strange is it that she just happened to start working there on March 31st?
That day, yeah, of all days.
Of all days.
The day to call in sick.
The day that the murders happened. But that's it. That is it for the Hinterkaifeck Farmstead murders.
Easy for you to say.
I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but that's the only way I can think to say it.
Maybe some of our German listeners or our Scandinavian, because they're close, nearby.
Are they?
I don't know. Pull up the map.
How close are they, Gibbs?
They're close. They're just right there in that same little circle right there. Yeah.
But we got some voicemails.
Let's hear some voicemails.
All right, let's do that.
Hey, Fergie and the Gibster. This is Lily Stell from Springfield, Illinois, calling again. But this time I have a suggestion for TCAT Unsolved. It's the case of Oscar Pistorius shooting his girlfriend in the head on Valentine's Day. It was reported on and broadcasted in several countries, and it was pretty popular. So I don't mean to insult your intelligence if you've heard of it before, but I just recently learned of it, and it blew my mind. No pun intended there. Anyways, we know who the killer is, but the details of the crime are interesting in that he was a very paranoid person, and he claims that he thought that she was an intruder. So, I don't know, it's just kind of hard to make a decision on whether or not you think he's guilty. I thought it would be interesting to do, and I wanted to say thank you for all you guys do. I love you guys. Keep up the good work, and keep your own time ticking. Thanks.
All right, thanks very much for that voicemail.
Appreciate that. I remember that case.
And it's hard to insult our intelligence. It really is.
Extremely hard for you.
Number one, there's not much there. So it's hard to unsolve.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, to be honest, I do know a lot about the Pistorius case. Was covered extensively. And I did follow it. I watched a lot of it.
Yeah, I did too.
And there are a lot of parts to it that are fascinating. I think it would make for a good episode. I don't know if it's one of those Gibbs where people know every single detail or they just heard snippets. I mean, they know the general outline.
I think they probably just saw the 1 minute snippet on the news every night, giving updates.
So they know what happened, but they probably don't know every single detail. Well, I don't know. Our fans might. They're really into it. So, but anyway, I think it would be a good one to do someday.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Jewel Myers from Somers Point, New Jersey. I was just calling to let you guys know how much I enjoy the podcast. I found it about 2 weeks ago, and I've gone through just about every single episode. I really love true crime, and I'm going into the FBI to become a profiler. So all of that criminal justice and the psychology part of it is just extremely interesting to me. And I listen to the podcast when I'm at the gym, falling asleep, anywhere. So I just wanted to let you guys know how much I enjoy it. So keep your own time ticking. Bye.
So another great voicemail. Gibbs, I want to go back in time. I want to become an FBI profiler.
You would be good at that.
I think that's my dream job. I think it was my calling and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
At the time, and now I'm too far gone. I'm too far past my prime.
Never too far gone. You can still do it.
I could.
Yeah.
You think they would hire a 40-something-year-old?
All you need to do is solve a case for them without being hired, then they'd hire you right away as a consultant.
I've solved 80-some cases.
Yeah, okay.
On true crime all the time.
Yeah, you just need to be a
Solved
consultant.
them.
Be like, what's that book? Morgan Freeman plays the guy that gets called in on those tough cases.
You said, Alex, you talking about Alex Cross?
Alex Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about a book that Morgan Freeman plays the guy.
Yes.
So obviously you're
But there's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't say that. What's that book where Morgan Freeman?
I thought I said, what's that movie?
No. You
sure?
said, what's that book?
I think you confused again.
All right. Everybody will have to listen and make up their own mind.
But yeah.
Incredibly, I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because I have read all the Alex Cross novels.
Yeah. I think Tyler Perry tried it one shot at it.
It didn't go well.
No.
It didn't go well. I myself am not a huge Tyler Perry fan. The guy's worth like a cajillion dollars.
Yeah, he does, man. He writes, he acts,
But
he
I'm
directs. He's got everything.
I'm
man.
not a huge fan. I mean, I'm a fan of his work ethic.
Yeah.
The guy's working like 24/7. I'm just not a big fan of the stuff that he puts out.
You don't watch his movies?
No.
I got you.
No, I'm not a Medea follower.
Shocking.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. I'm going to call myself T. It's T from Houston, Texas, and I just wanted to say that I love your podcast, and I was listening to a podcast, and I heard Mike said when he was 5 years old, he ate paper towels, and I had the same problem. In fact, I got so stopped up, my mom had to bring me to the hospital, and she said, I bet you are the only weird child in the world to eat paper towels. And now I can tell her that I was not the only one that ate paper towels. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I love the podcast and have a good day. And it keeps me up. I work nights and it keeps me up by listening to you guys' podcast. Have a good day. Bye.
Me and you, T. Me and you.
It's M&T.
Yep.
T&M.
Sometimes I think maybe I share too much.
You do.
Personal information, but
all the time.
Maybe it helps somebody every now and then.
Paper towel eating person.
I did eat paper towels as a kid.
Yeah. Why are you munching on one right now?
No, I stopped. I really didn't do it for very long. It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't last very long.
Did you try toilet paper just for a short little period of time?
No, it was just paper towels for me, man.
I wouldn't admit it either.
But you know what's funny? I never went to the hospital.
Yeah.
I never had any problems.
Clearly, you didn't eat the whole roll like T did
as a result of it. But now it might be the impetus for my problems later in life.
If you got impetus, let's not talk about that on here.
Sorry. That should be your word of the day. Look that up. Mm-hmm. Use that correctly. and it's not what you think it is.
I still think it's funny.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Daisy from Sacramento, California. I just wanted to call in and say that I absolutely love your show. I am originally from LA, and I listened to the Richard Ramirez podcast, and it totally took me back to LA. I was born in 83, even though back then I didn't know what was going on, it was kind of interesting to know that all of this stuff was going on around that area, or at least where he was caught or whatever. But I really enjoyed you guys going really, into the crime and what was going on down there. I absolutely love you guys. I am not able to be a Patreon supporter at this time, but I will definitely contribute sometime in the future. I keep up the good work, and so keep your own time ticking.
All right. Love that voicemail. Gibbs, there was a lot of stuff going down in LA in the 80s.
Yeah, there was.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that goes down in LA at all times, but the 80s seemed like, man, that was a scary time.
Yeah, it really was.
In LA. We could do a case every week from the Los Angeles area, probably. Southern California, or California in general.
Probably.
Never run out of cases.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There are so many cases.
There is.
And we've done a lot of California cases.
I think we probably did 8 at least.
I would probably guess more.
More, yeah.
I don't know to be a fact, but some of them you don't even think about being California. We just did the Black Dahlia.
Yeah, California.
Yeah, California.
Doodler.
Morph and I on criminology just happened to do Zodiac and the East Area Rapist.
Yeah.
Both California.
It's amazing.
There are a lot of famous
people
cases.
People always blame Ohio.
I know.
They always think Ohio has
Ohio does have a lot of weird.
I know, but I'm trying to push it off on some other states.
Strange serial killers, and for its size. I mean, Ohio's a fairly large state, but nowhere near the size of California or something
Texas.
like that, or Texas,
yeah,
or New York.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Gibby. It is Tia from Oregon, and I'm just calling to let you know I'm getting all caught up. And I'm so stoked that you guys did the Black Dahlia, because that was one of the first cases outside of Ted Bundy, because that one, I think I did like a report in school or something, and that got me interested. And then the Black Dahlia was one of the first true crime books I've read, like a million years ago. So super stoked. And as always, you guys did an amazing job. Mike, I am back at work now, finally. My husband's surgery went well, but his recovery took a little bit longer than we anticipated. And so I'm finally back in front of the laptop and working hard on my first case for you guys. Super excited, and just wanted to say thank you once again for this opportunity. I look forward to having it into you guys ASAP. And until then, I will keep listening, and y'all keep your own time ticking. Thanks so much. Bye.
All right. Awesome. We have gotten a lot of support lately, Gibbs, from people that have said that they would be willing to help with, research and the writing. And obviously, most of the time we do it ourselves. I usually do TCAT, you do Unsolved.
Right.
And even the ones where we get from people, we still have to do all the research, and we do rewrite a lot of it.
Yeah.
But it's a big help.
A huge help, for sure.
Yeah. So we appreciate that, and we can't wait to see what Tia comes up with.
Absolutely.
All right, Gibbs, you ready to wrap it up?
I'm ready to wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. I'm not going to put a bow on it.
All right. Well, that is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.